I guess we're here to talk about the beginnings of a most fearful sacrifice. Uh, exactly. Uh, I think it started on a alien planet with a game. What was the name of that planet?
It was a dark and stormy night.
Yeah, it was a dark and. What was the name of that planet? Do you know? Is there
Which
a name
one?
for it?
For which one?
For invaders from Dimension X?
If there is, I forgot.
Okay, yeah, I got you. That's fine. So anyhow, the first game that Herm did for me, and I hate using terms like did for me, but it's not like I did anything but produce it, so I don't know that I could say work together on, but whatever, was Invaders from Dimension X.
Mm-hmm.
And he did such an awesome job on that. That's still one of Tiny Battle's best-selling games. That then there was some other stuff he did.
Well, let me jump in here.
Yeah, please.
Thank you for letting me do Invaders from Dimension X. I give Mark a lot of credit because that was just a totally insane design that came off the top of my head. And after speaking to him for a while, I know he would be in the same frame of mind to do an insane, chaotic space game. So thank you for that.
Fun game.
Thank you. I'm glad you.
And for those of you that don't know, there is a really high quality and fun Invaders from Dimension X PC game on Steam.
Right.
So go look it up if you're into that.
And it works well.
Yeah, it works real well.
Yeah.
It was done by a programmer. Now he programs for Matrix games, but it was excellent. So anyhow, we went through some other games in that series. Herm either designed or had a very big hand in the development of. And then he also did a game that I think is so underrated for Tiny Battle. I can never remember the name of it. The zombie game.
Oh, Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning. It's such a cool game. And then he did a couple of Yah Magazine games that use the same
system.
Is it the same system?
It's the same system, yeah. So it's taking that zombie game and then actually applying it to a couple of historical World War I events. And the whole premise is bidding.
Yeah.
You bid for your initiative, and that tells you how much action you can do. But I guess the part that you really like too is the combat cards that you match up the combat cards. Yeah. Yeah.
And those two games were, to put you on the spot,
Race to the Sea.
Yeah.
And Steamroller.
Yeah, Steamroller.
Right.
Which is Tannenberg, the Battle
of Tannenberg.
The Battle of Tannenberg, and which led us to The Devils to Pay.
Right.
Which we originally were going to call The Devil's Toupee. And you want to talk about The Devil's Toupee?
The Devil's Toupee is the first day of Gettysburg. It was the first elaboration or enhancement, changing of the blind sword system to something at a different scale, something that we could shrink down into a nice small game, but still keep a large scale as far as the unit size and everything. And it was actually the game that started the rolling towards the Black Swan system.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. I played that game with my good friend Greg Porter, the designer of Armageddon War, and we both were totally taken by it. It was so much fun. And so originally, at Most Fearful Sacrifice, we were talking about doing, so let's do a second day of A Devil's to Pay, but you had what?
Long Street Attacks with Revolution Games, which covered the second day of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So we talked about how are we going to proceed with this idea of this new system of Civil War gaming and involve Gettysburg. Then, of course, we were afraid that somebody was going to ask us for the third day.
Right.
So then Mark and I came to the logical conclusion, well,
just do them all.
Let's just do it.
And in my mind, I don't like to use the words best because I don't want to use the comparison. I think Herm is one of the most exciting, dynamic designers designing games today. And I thought that 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever we went down this path, and I thought, man, if we got Herm to design a game and then we did really high quality production values and made it really big, we would have a lot of people ask us, well, how big, right? All the time. And it would sell really well because I am a capitalist. And sure as hell, that's what he did. He designed an incredible game.
Thank you.
And we managed to produce an incredible game. And take it away and talk a little bit about the process. I mean, how long did that? It was a lot of work, I know.
Oh, yeah. It was So first of all, you get all the credit for coming up with the vision of, well, if we do a Gettysburg game, it's not going to be your grandma's Gettysburg game.
But I think actually we do, because you agreed with me and you said, I think that we could do it that way. Right,
but we didn't want to just do another Gettysburg game. So we said, if this is going to be the Gettysburg, this is going to be the ultimate Gettysburg game. And so we took, I started working on the system. We got Rick Barber on board to do probably the most gorgeous map ever produced for Gettysburg. To Mark's credit as well, we realized that Rick's skill was sometimes lost on smaller maps. So Mark came up with, well, let's do the largest maps we can do. We did, old school tactical size maps?
Yes, physically that's what we did. But I think what we did is we asked you, how much area do we need to cover?
Right.
And then we told Rick, we need to cover this much area, and you have this many inches of map. How big can the hexes be?
Right.
And then with hexes that big, we went to Jose and said, if the hexes are this big, how big can the counters be? We would have loved to do 1-inch counters.
Right.
But that would have been, there's no telling, a 22, 24-foot square map.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it was the whole thing ended up, it kind of became the perfect storm of board game production and design and input and all that. We took an established system, enhanced it. We got the best map guy in the business and blew up his work.
Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Blew up his work so that it was really appreciated, right? To the point that people would buy the game and just mount the map.
We've had so many people email us that they wanted a second copy for that.
And then for Jose Fowler, who's a fantastic graphics guy, the best, we said, well, all right, if we're going to do counters, we're not going to do these boring old counters. We're going to do guys in their full color uniforms and action poses with the right flags. And we have 10 variations of the uniforms, Zouaves, North Carolina uniforms, as opposed to the Irish Brigade's flag. And we went even as far, I forget if it was Steve or Claude who came up with this idea of, well, let's throw some mascots on there too.
Yeah,
so three of the counters have dogs on them.
Yep.
So we just decided, what the heck, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all in. Everything we can throw at this game, we're going to throw at it. And it worked perfectly. I mean,
Jose did a great job of illustrating that, but you, to be honest, were the one that came up with the ideas, with the different uniforms and the research and the puppies. You were the ones that, you were the one singular that came up saying, hey, put a puppy on this counter.
Well, which counter, right, and everything, but yeah. And that harkens back to my days of miniature gaming and painting.
Right.
So I've always had an appreciation for uniforms, and I know some people don't like colored figurines on their counters, but for me, it immerses
to hell with you people.
It immerses you in the period.
Yes.
It's an educational thing because you say, hey, this is what this unit looked like at this time. Mm-hmm. This is what a Zouave looked like, right? This is what the Irish Brigade, this is what the Black Hat Brigade wore into battle. So it's an informative thing as well as an attraction,
Well, two interesting things about that is, one, in Rock of Chickamauga, Herm has done the same thing. Herm and Jose working together. Jose is also the map artist now and has done a beautiful job. But for instance, Longstreet's Corps came west via rail to Chickamauga for that battle. and they had just gotten brand new uniforms, and they looked like Union troops.
Yep.
And those blue uniforms are depicted on the counters for Rock of Chickamauga. That's thing one. And then thing two, the closest we ever came to having a disagreement was you wanted the tan Confederate counters. I wanted the gray Confederate counters. Right. So we did.
Well, we compromised.
Yeah. We did.
So, as people know, in A Most Fearful Sacrifice, the Confederate counters are in butternut, which was the more common coloring. Sometimes, probably not intentionally, but it became butternut.
Yeah, sure.
And we were talking about doing that again for Rock of Chickamauga, but
I said, it's my turn.
Now it's his turn. So he wanted the more traditional gray, which is fine because the figures themselves, the figures themselves still look like the soldiers. In fact, the Confederates look even a little bit more motley, with more white and light tan, and so they look correct. Historically correct.
Were they more motley in the Western armies than the Eastern armies?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you were right. Good point about the Longstreet's Corps having the dark blue uniforms, which was, and that's depicted in the game too with a card as far as friendly fire and the Union mistaking these troops for Union troops.
Neat.
Yep.
So we tell you two things about this. One, we're going to get in the hard-proof copy of Rock of Chickamauga here in a couple of weeks. We had to do some corrections. Not that anything was done wrong, but we had to do some printer corrections with the maps. So we're going to get those in a couple of weeks. And then also we're going to be running reasonably soon. I can't give you a date. A Kickstarter for a reprint Kickstarter for hold on, let me have a sip of beer. We're gonna do a race. Y'all know what we're talking about. What else you got to say?
So, to your point about the map issue.
Oh yeah,
so what we did.
So
the maps. So the North map and the South map, same size as the Most Fearful Sacrifice. But what we did with Rock of Chickamauga, because we've had some issues with people having space for two maps, but most of Chickamauga's action is actually occurring between the North and South map. So I was a little afraid, we're going to have most of our scenarios require two maps. So I came up with this idea that we're going to carve out the center where most of the scenarios take place and place that on the back of one of the maps so that most scenarios, almost all of them, can be played either with just a North or South map, or if you flip one over in the middle map, what we call the center map, or what do we call it, middle map. And so most of the time, unless you're playing the campaign game, you'll just need one map.
And I thought that was brilliant. Actually, I thought it was the one that came up with that, but that's probably the beer.
Let's say that, no, I think we discussed it, and the idea
just flew. Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you for that.
All right. So it's too bad we're not doing this live, so you guys could ask Herm some questions, but we're not. So
leave them in the comments below.
Yeah, leave them in the comments below. You got anything else?
That's it. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's
Hey, thanks for talking. Appreciate it.
Oh, I always love talking.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, dude.
Bye.